Ladies and gentlemen, it is not intelligence alone that builds greatness, but the ability to understand, to listen, and to respond with precision and purpose. In every endeavor of life, whether in leadership, business, or companionship, the greatest asset you can possess is the skill to observe what is often left unsaid, to perceive what is often masked behind silence, and to respond not with noise, but with knowing. Many men rise with ambition, power, and plans, yet stumble because they fail at the simplest test of success, the ability to understand the needs of others. They assume, they declare, they take, but they do not notice. Let it be known that the road to influence is paved not with words, but with awareness. There is a deep hunger in every human spirit, not for riches, not for fame, but for acknowledgement. That need, when ignored, creates distance. When met, it creates loyalty. Recognition is not given with grand gestures. It is earned with attention, a nod at the right time, a hand offered without being asked, a pause to hear, not just to speak. The man who learns to listen with intention and feel with integrity gains more than knowledge. He earns trust, and trust is the foundation upon which empires are built. It is the invisible currency that flows through every relationship. Without it, even the strongest structure crumbles. You want to lead, understand. You want to grow, listen. You want to build a future that lasts. Begin by giving what most refuse to give, your full presence. Because when you meet real needs with real effort, you unlock a force greater than any strategy. You become rare, you become unforgettable, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is where true power begins. True understanding begins with active observation and deep listening. This principle is the cornerstone of effective human connection. It is not enough to merely hear words. One must listen with intent, with purpose, with the full engagement of both mind and spirit. Observation is more than the act of looking. It is the practice of perceiving the unspoken, the silent messages woven into gestures, expressions, and energy. The successful individual is not one who dominates the room with speech, but the one who controls it with presence, with awareness, with the silent strength of perception. Most people rush through life with eyes open and minds closed. They believe understanding lies in what is declared, in what is written or spoken aloud. But the truth is buried beneath the surface. It is in the pause before a response. It is in the subtle shift of tone. It is in the glance that lingers or the breath that hesitates. Those who master the art of observation possess an edge that intellect alone cannot provide. They see before others see, they know before others speak, and they respond with such clarity that it feels as though they were born knowing. The power of observation is cultivated in stillness, in the silence between distractions, in the discipline to withhold judgment and to instead absorb. It is not about reading minds. It is about reading patterns, recognizing emotional climates, and understanding that people reveal themselves not through their loudest moments, but through their quietest. Every sigh, every flicker of hesitation, every choice of word reveals something to the one who is truly watching. Deep listening, on the other hand, is a deliberate act of surrender. It is not passive. It is not waiting for one's turn to speak. It is the intentional decision to give another the gift of your full attention. Most people only listen to reply. The wise listen to understand. They hear what is said and what is not said. They detect meaning in absence as much as in presence. They recognize that beneath every sentence lies a world of emotion, fear, desire, and experience. To listen deeply is to say, "You matter enough for me to stop the noise inside myself." It is the beginning of trust, the foundation of influence, and it requires discipline. The discipline to quiet your ego, the discipline to withhold assumption, the discipline to remain present even when the mind wanders. True listening does not happen by accident. It is an act of will. When a person feels truly heard, something within them changes, a wall comes down, a shield is lowered, and in that moment, influence becomes possible. Not because of persuasion, but because of connection. To understand what someone needs, you must be willing to step outside of yourself, to abandon your agenda, to tune your focus to their frequency. Needs are not always logical, they are emotional, and emotion is revealed in tone, in timing, in nuance. Only the observant catch it. Only the attentive can meet it. In every relationship, professional or personal, those who master observation and listening hold the upper hand. Not because they manipulate, but because they serve. They serve with awareness. They lead with insight. And people follow not because they are commanded, but because they are understood. Consider the greatest leaders, the most powerful figures of influence in history. They did not speak the most. They listened the best. They read the room before they addressed it. They knew what moved people not through guesswork, but through attention. They gathered information without interrogation. They made people feel seen without saying much at all. That is the essence of power, not volume, but vision. There is a reason why people open up to certain individuals, why they feel safe, valued, respected. It is because those individuals have learned to read between the lines, to catch the signals that others ignore. They do not force understanding. They allow it to emerge naturally through patient awareness. They do not speak over discomfort, they sit with it, and in doing so they reveal something few others can: the genuine desire to connect, not control. The reward for such understanding is immense. In business, it leads to loyalty, to strong partnerships, to lasting success. In life, it leads to deeper bonds, greater fulfillment, and the kind of respect that cannot be bought. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said, and how you make them feel depends on how well you understand them. To understand, then, is to serve. It is to elevate your thinking beyond your own needs. It is to become attuned to human nature, to see patterns where others see problems, to recognize the invisible drivers behind visible actions. People are not puzzles to be solved. They are stories to be read, layer by layer, line by line, and only those who read with care will ever know the full meaning. There is no substitute for presence, no shortcut to perception. You must be willing to slow down, to look longer, to listen harder, and when you do, when you truly observe and listen, you gain access to a level of understanding that transforms not only your relationships, but your entire path to success. That is the kind of power no one can take from you, a power built not on force, but on truth, not on assertion, but on awareness. Greatness, in its highest form, is the result of alignment, when your understanding of others is as strong as your understanding of yourself. And that alignment is only possible when you stop treating connection as a transaction and start treating it as a discipline. Observe with purpose, listen with intention, and the world will open to you in ways you never imagined. Emotional intelligence is not a modern invention. It is a timeless force that has shaped the rise and fall of relationships, businesses, and empires. It is the quiet strength behind every successful leader, every respected individual, every lasting bond. Emotional intelligence is not just about being aware of your own emotions. It is the ability to recognize, interpret, and respond to the emotions of others with clarity, calm, and confidence. Without it, power is fragile. Influence is temporary, and trust is impossible. We are taught to value logic, strategy, and intellect, but those who ascend to the highest levels of connection and achievement know that emotional intelligence is what holds everything together. The ability to read the room, to sense tension before it erupts, to respond instead of react. These are the skills that separate the effective from the exceptional. When you walk into a room and understand what people feel, not just what they say, you hold a rare kind of power. The power to shift moods, to redirect energy, to make people feel seen and safe. The most intelligent mind can be rendered useless without the emotional sensitivity to connect. Facts alone do not move people. Reason alone does not lead. What drives human behavior, what compels people to act, to trust, to follow, is emotion, and the one who understands this truth and wields it with integrity can move mountains. Trust is not demanded. It is earned through consistency and emotional awareness. It is built in moments of stillness, in how you respond under pressure, in whether you escalate conflict or ease it. People observe far more than they admit. They feel the undercurrent of your words. They detect your motives long before you speak them. Emotional intelligence means understanding this invisible language, the tone of the conversation that lives beneath the surface. It means you can look someone in the eye and know when to push and when to pause. It means you can hear a yes and recognize it's really a no. It means you can feel the drop in energy in a room and raise it without saying a word. These are not gifts of personality. They are skills developed through awareness and discipline. The emotionally intelligent individual does not seek to dominate with noise. They seek to influence through understanding. They do not bulldoze others into submission. They create space where others feel empowered to contribute. That kind of leadership is rare because it is selfless, it is thoughtful, and above all, it is built on trust. Influence is not achieved through charisma alone. It is solidified by your ability to manage emotion, yours and others. The person who cannot manage their own temper cannot be trusted to lead others. The person who cannot detect anxiety, fear, or doubt in others cannot build true connection. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness, to know your triggers, your blind spots, your emotional patterns. And from that foundation, you begin to master your relationship with others. It is not weakness to care. It is not weakness to feel. It is a sign of immense strength to remain composed in the storm, to respond with empathy in the face of frustration, to offer patience when most would offer judgment. These are the qualities that make people return to you, not because they have to, but because they want to. In business, emotional intelligence is what closes deals, retains clients, and forges partnerships that stand the test of time. In life, it's what sustains relationships long after the initial spark fades. People follow those who make them feel understood. They trust those who show emotional consistency. They respect those who know when to be firm and when to be compassionate. This intelligence cannot be faked. You may learn the words, but unless they come from a place of real understanding, people will see through them. Authenticity is a byproduct of emotional maturity. And maturity is gained through experience, through reflection, through the humility to admit when you've misread a situation and the strength to learn from it. Think of every conflict you've witnessed. Think of every misunderstanding, every broken partnership, every silent grudge that grew into distance. Beneath all of it lies the absence of emotional awareness, the inability to see past one's own emotion, the refusal to understand what the other person is truly experiencing. Had either side paused to recognize the deeper feeling beneath the reaction, the outcome could have changed entirely. The emotionally intelligent do not run from difficult emotions. They move toward them. They ask the questions others avoid. They stay present in discomfort, and by doing so, they disarm fear, dissolve tension, and create space for resolution. When you carry emotional intelligence, you do not just interact, you impact. Every conversation becomes an opportunity. Every disagreement becomes a test of character. Every moment becomes a chance to show composure, strength, and empathy. You will be remembered not for how loudly you spoke, but for how wisely you responded. Not for how often you were right, but for how deeply you understood. This kind of intelligence is not found in books. It is developed through intentional living, through reflection, through choosing growth over ego. And the more you cultivate it, the more you will begin to influence others not by effort, but by energy. People will lean in because they feel safe. They will listen because they feel heard. They will trust because they sense you see them, not just their words. And that is the secret. Emotional intelligence gives you quiet control over the chaos. It allows you to walk into any situation, any room, any relationship, and bring balance. It makes you the anchor when others drift, the calm in the storm, the guide when others are lost in noise. True success, lasting, meaningful, respected success, cannot be achieved without this foundation. Emotional intelligence is not just a tool. It is the very medium through which trust and influence are built, and those who master it will always rise, not by chance, but by choice. At the core of every human being lies a simple truth: the desire to feel seen, valued, and acknowledged. This truth cuts through every boundary, cultural, economic, social. It does not matter how strong, successful, or self-reliant a person appears on the outside. Beneath all the layers of strength, pride, and performance is a heart that wants recognition, respect, and appreciation. This is not weakness. It is nature. It is the foundation of dignity and motivation. It is the invisible fuel that drives action, loyalty, and greatness. Recognition is not about praise for the sake of flattery. It is not about handing out compliments without meaning. It is about acknowledgement, the kind that says, "I see you, I see what you're doing, I see what you've overcome, I see what you carry." It is the most powerful form of validation because it touches the one thing every person holds sacred: their effort. Every person wants to believe their effort matters, that their presence counts, that what they give, whether large or small, is noticed. When a person feels invisible, they shrink. Not physically, but spiritually, they pull back, they become guarded. Resentment takes root, not because they were denied material things, but because they were denied emotional recognition. This is true in families, teams, organizations, and partnerships. You can give someone all the tools in the world, but if you do not make them feel seen, they will not bring their full self to the table. They will do only what is required, not what is possible. Respect is the second pillar. It is not something that can be demanded or forced. It is something that is felt, and it must be given before it is received. True respect is shown through behavior: how you speak, how you listen, how you carry yourself. When you interrupt someone, you say they don't matter. When you dismiss someone's perspective, you say they don't count. And when you operate from a place of superiority, you declare that you do not understand the power of humility. The most effective people in any room are not the loudest or the most intimidating. They are the ones who show respect to everyone, regardless of title, status, or background. They treat the janitor with the same regard as the CEO, and because of that, they earn a level of loyalty and support that cannot be bought. Respect has nothing to do with fear, it has everything to do with value. When you show someone they matter, they rise. Appreciation is the third need. It is the recognition of worth, not just in outcome, but in presence. You do not need a grand gesture to show appreciation. A word at the right time, a thank you that is sincere, a moment of pause to acknowledge effort. These small actions carry enormous weight. People remember how you made them feel, and appreciation is what creates those unforgettable moments. Think of the times in your life when you felt truly appreciated, not for what you gave, but for who you were. That feeling didn't just inspire you, it empowered you, it made you want to give more, do more, be more. Appreciation awakens the part of us that wants to contribute fully. It stirs up purpose, and when someone feels appreciated, they no longer have to be asked. They volunteer, they show up, they give from a deeper place. All three, recognition, respect, and appreciation, are not luxuries, they are necessities. They are the emotional air every person needs to breathe freely, and they must be given deliberately, intentionally. Repeatedly. It is not enough to say, "I appreciate you," once and assume it is remembered forever. These things must be practiced. They must become a part of how you lead, how you connect, how you operate in the world. Some think power comes from commanding others, but real power comes from making others feel powerful. And nothing makes a person feel more powerful than being recognized, respected, and appreciated. That is when they step into their potential. That is when they begin to trust you. That is when they go from compliance to commitment, from following out of duty to following out of belief. When people are ignored, criticized, or taken for granted, they begin to withdraw. They may still smile, they may still show up, but something inside begins to close off. The light dims, the fire cools, they stop speaking up, they stop offering their best, not because they are weak, but because they've been made to feel they don't matter. If you want to bring out the best in someone, recognize them when no one else does. Respect them when others overlook them. Appreciate them before they have to ask. These are not just emotional principles. They are strategic principles. They create connection, they build trust, they inspire effort, and they sustain relationships through hardship, conflict, and change. In every organization, in every relationship, in every interaction, these three principles are working in the background. Either they are present and creating growth, or they are absent and creating distance. The choice is always yours. Will you ignore what matters most, or will you become the kind of person who understands the real source of influence? Understanding this is not manipulation. It is mastery. It is emotional intelligence in action. When you understand what people need, not materially but emotionally, you become a person of value, a person others want to follow, want to work with, want to build with, because you give what so few are willing to give, your attention, your presence, your genuine regard. You can build empires, you can earn wealth, you can hold titles. But if you do not understand this principle, you will always fall short of your potential, because success without recognition is empty, influence without respect is shallow, and leadership without appreciation is hollow. Remember this. People may forget your accomplishments, but they will never forget how you made them feel, and if you make them feel seen, heard, and valued, you will never be forgotten. In every conversation, in every interaction, there exists a layer beneath the surface, a current of emotion, expectation, and longing that often remains unspoken. It is this undercurrent that determines the true direction of relationships, the quality of communication, and the depth of connection. The wise do not merely listen to what is said, they listen for what is not said, they watch for what is implied, they sense the emotions that words cannot express, and it is in this subtle art, the recognition of unspoken needs, that true understanding and influence are born. Spoken words can be powerful, yes, but they are often filtered by fear, filtered by pride, filtered by a desire not to appear weak, needy, or vulnerable. Many people will never tell you directly what they need. They won't say they feel unappreciated. They won't say they're overwhelmed. They won't say they're doubting themselves, but their behavior will show it. Their silence will reveal it. Their withdrawal will speak louder than any sentence they could construct. And if you are not paying attention, you will miss it. You will take their silence as strength, their endurance as satisfaction, their composure as confidence, and you will fail them, not because you meant to, but because you were not watching closely enough. There is a wisdom in being able to read between the lines, not only in speech, but in spirit. The truly perceptive individual does not wait for someone to ask for help before offering support. They do not require an emotional outburst before they recognize discomfort. They understand that human needs are often hidden, wrapped in smiles and buried beneath duties, and they seek those needs out not with force, but with presence. The unspoken reveals itself not to those who interrogate, but to those who observe with patience. Every unspoken need is a signal, a quiet cry for recognition, for support, for care. Sometimes it's disguised as frustration, sometimes it's masked by sarcasm or indifference, but behind those facades is something deeper, a longing to be understood without explanation. Most people don't want to explain their needs. They want you to see them, to anticipate them, to meet them before they have to speak them, not because they are entitled, but because they are human. And that's the difference between ordinary interaction and extraordinary influence. Your ability to sense the invisible. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is not softness, it is strength. A strength that comes from emotional discipline and mental awareness. It requires you to look past the obvious, to see more than behavior, to question what drives that behavior. When someone lashes out, the average person defends themselves. The wise person asks, what's really happening here? When someone withdraws, most people give space. The perceptive person leans in, not aggressively, but with curiosity, with concern. Meeting unspoken needs is a form of leadership. It is a form of service. It means you choose to be the person who notices when others do not. You become the steady presence in the storm of someone else's silence. You become the one who sees not just the performance, but the person behind it. That kind of presence is rare, and that is why it is so powerful. In professional settings, this is the key to creating loyalty and productivity. A team will work harder, stay longer, and give more when they feel someone understands what they are in the pursuit of influence, relationships, leadership, and understanding. Many fall into the trap of relying on surface gestures, words without weight, actions without presence, and routines without intention. But the individuals who create lasting impact, those who forge real loyalty, respect, and connection, are the ones who understand a simple but often forgotten truth. Connection does not begin on the surface. It begins in awareness, deep, focused, and consistent awareness. Surface gestures are easy. Anyone can offer a smile, a nod, a compliment. Anyone can give a gift, make a kind remark, send a polite message. These things have their place, but they are not enough, because people do not bond over what is seen. They bond over what is felt. And what is felt comes not from superficial behavior, but from presence. Presence that pays attention, presence that remembers, presence that listens even when nothing is being said. Deep awareness is the foundation of connection because it demands more than effort. It demands attention. The kind of attention that is rare in a world that moves fast, talks loud, and looks past rather than into. It means you notice the shift in someone's tone. You see the hesitation in their expression. You catch the pause in their words, and rather than overlook it, you become curious, you lean into it, not to pry, but to understand. This awareness is not passive, it is intentional. It requires discipline. The discipline to be quiet long enough to hear what's really being said. The discipline to stop thinking about your response and start paying attention to their reality. It means you train yourself to observe patterns, when someone grows distant, when they're unusually quiet, when their laughter doesn't reach their eyes. Most miss these signals because they're not looking. The wise don't miss them because they've trained their awareness to be sharp, calm, and wide open. Connection grows where awareness lives. When someone feels that you truly see them, not just their performance or their mask, but them, a bond begins to form that cannot be created through charm or convenience. That bond is built not in grand moments, but in small, consistent ones. You remember their challenges, you follow up without being asked, you check in before the breakdown, you respond without needing recognition. That's what awareness looks like in practice, quiet, steady, strong, and here's the truth, you cannot fake this kind of connection. You can mimic gestures, but you cannot manufacture awareness. People know when you're going through the motions. They know when you're performing empathy instead of living it. Connection that comes from surface gestures will always remain on the surface. It may get you through the door, but it will never earn you the room. Only awareness can do that. It's easy to ask, "How are you?" It's harder to care about the answer. It's easy to say, "Let me know if you need anything." It's harder to anticipate what's needed before it's asked. Surface gestures are safe. They don't require you to go deep. Awareness requires vulnerability, patience, and investment. It requires you to leave the comfort of assumption and step into the unknown of what another person is truly feeling. That's why so few do it, and that's why those who do stand out so powerfully. In leadership, this awareness is what separates a manager from a mentor. Anyone can give instructions, but it takes awareness to know what someone is going through beyond the task, to know when they need space versus when they need guidance, to sense when they are struggling with more than just the work in front of them. And when you respond from that place, not to fix, but to support, you earn something far more valuable than obedience. You earn trust. In personal relationships, it's the same. Connection dies when people stop being aware of each other, when they assume they already know, when they stop looking for the subtle signs of change. Awareness breathes life into connection because it says, "I'm still paying attention. I'm still choosing to see you. I still care enough to notice." And that message is more powerful than any gift, any words, any gesture. Now, awareness is not about control. It is not about solving everyone's problems or reading minds. It is about being fully present, so present that you can recognize the emotional rhythm of the people around you. You sense when something's off, you notice when they light up, you feel when they pull back. This sensitivity is a superpower in any setting because it allows you to respond to what is real, not what is presented. The impact of this goes beyond individual relationships. It shapes culture. It transforms environments. When one person begins to lead with awareness, others follow. They mirror that presence. They start to listen more, assume less, respond with care, and look beyond appearances. That ripple effect creates trust. It creates safety, and it creates depth. This kind of connection doesn't happen overnight. It is cultivated, day by day, moment by moment, through countless small decisions to be present, to stay aware, to care enough to keep noticing. You may not always get it right, but even the effort to understand deeply builds credibility. It shows humility. It shows strength. The greatest mistake people make is assuming that effort is enough. That doing nice things or saying nice words is all it takes to connect. But human beings are not moved by routine kindness. They are moved by intentional presence. And once someone has felt that kind of presence, they never forget it. It stays with them because it's rare, because it's real. In the end, the most powerful form of connection is not built on what you do when everyone is watching. It's built on what you notice when no one else is paying attention. That is the mark of someone who understands how influence, leadership, and trust are really created, not through surface gestures, but through deep, quiet, unwavering awareness.